All right, so are you ready to dive in? Today we're going to get deep into narcissism.
Sounds good.
It seems like you've been really curious about this one for a while.
Yeah.
You sent over a ton of stuff, articles, videos,
Right.
even some excerpts from psychology textbooks.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's pretty clear to me that you're really ready to go way deeper with this
Yeah.
than just kind of a surface level understanding.
Absolutely.
We even got like a TikTok reaction video in the mix here,
Oh, wow.
along with a spiritual take on healing.
Interesting.
So I'm really curious to see how those perspectives kind of fit into all this.
Yeah, for sure.
So our goal today is to like really cut through the noise
Yeah.
and to help you really understand the core of like what makes narcissism tick.
Yeah. It's a big topic.
Is a big topic.
It's everywhere these days.
It's everywhere.
It's true.
So let's start with the basics.
Okay.
How do we actually define narcissism
That's the question.
beyond just, like being selfish?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. Right.
That's actually a more complex answer
Yep.
than you might think.
Okay.
Narcissism goes beyond just selfishness.
Okay.
It's a deep hunger for admiration, a lack of empathy,
Okay.
and a sense of entitlement that often masks a core of shame.
Shame.
Yeah,
I always thought it stemmed from
Yeah.
an inflated ego
right.
and a sense of superiority.
I think a lot of people think that
Yeah.
you're not alone in that assumption.
Okay.
But that outward display of grandiosity
Okay.
is often a way to kind of compensate for deep-seated feelings of inadequacy.
Interesting.
In Dr. Ramani's book, she actually describes it
Okay.
as a defense mechanism against the threat of shame.
Oh,
It's like they're constantly trying to prove their worth to the world and to themselves.
So are you saying that many narcissists are actually aware
Yeah.
of their self-centeredness deep down?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Many narcissists have a degree of awareness
Okay.
of their self-centered tendencies.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they change their behavior.
Right.
The need to maintain that inflated sense of self
Okay.
often outweighs any desire to kind of
Yeah.
address their underlying issues.
This is where I think a lot of people get confused.
Yeah.
When does everyday selfishness
Exactly.
or a need for validation cross the line into what we call like narcissism?
Right.
Oh.
That's a really crucial distinction. I
Yeah.
mean, we all have moments of selfishness.
For sure.
And we all crave validation sometimes.
Right.
That's part of being human.
Yeah.
Pathological narcissism
Okay.
disrupts daily functioning and relationships.
Okay.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
Everyone gets a cold sometimes.
Yeah.
But not everyone has pneumonia.
Right.
Narcissism, when it reaches a clinical level, is like pneumonia.
Oh, okay.
It significantly impacts a person's life
Got it.
and the lives of those around them.
Okay, so it's not about
Yeah,
judging someone
exactly.
for like having a bad day
Right.
or needing a compliment.
Exactly.
It's about recognizing patterns of behavior
Yes.
that consistently disregard the needs and feelings of others.
Exactly.
Right.
And one of those key patterns is a chronic lack of empathy.
Okay.
In one of the articles you shared,
Yeah.
the author describes this as an inability to step into another person's shoes
Wow.
and to genuinely understand their perspective.
Yeah.
This inability to empathize makes it extremely challenging
Bro,
for narcissists to form truly reciprocal and fulfilling relationships.
that makes me think about the emptiness wound that you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Can you explain more about that
Absolutely.
and how it relates to this lack of empathy?
Yeah, so the emptiness wound refers to that core sense of inadequacy and shame
Okay.
that kind of drives narcissistic behavior.
Mhm.
It often stems from childhood experiences
Okay.
where the child's needs for consistent love,
Right.
support, and validation weren't met.
So are we talking about neglectful childhoods?
It can be.
Or could it even be the opposite?
Yeah.
Like being overly indulged,
It can.
but in a way that felt conditional.
You're hitting on something really important.
Okay.
It can actually be both.
Okay.
Neglect obviously leaves a child feeling unseen and unimportant.
Right.
But even excessive praise,
Okay.
if it's tied to achievements
Mm-hmm.
or meeting certain expectations,
Yeah.
can create a fragile sense of self-worth.
It's like their worthiness
Yes.
is constantly being measured
Exactly.
against external factors instead of coming
Right.
from a place of inherent value.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that sets the stage for a lifelong pattern
Right.
of seeking external validation to fill that inner void.
Okay.
Because they haven't internalized a sense of their own worth.
Mm-hmm.
They constantly rely on others
Okay.
to reflect it back to them.
Yeah.
And this is where the lack of empathy really comes into play.
Okay.
They're so focused on getting their own needs met,
Right.
on maintaining their fragile ego, that they have very little capacity left to
Yeah.
genuinely connect with
Yeah.
and understand the experiences of others.
I'm remembering that powerful
Yes.
still-face baby experiment you talked about once.
Oh, yeah.
Could you remind us about that
Yeah.
and how it relates to this idea of mirroring
Absolutely.
and emotional responsiveness?
Yeah. So in that experiment, you have a mother and baby interacting normally,
Okay.
with the mother mirroring the baby's emotions and expressions.
Right.
Then the mother suddenly goes completely still and expressionless.
Oh, wow.
The baby tries everything to re-engage the mother,
Yeah.
smiling,
Yeah.
cooing, even becoming distressed.
Oh, gosh.
But the mother remains unresponsive.
Wow.
It's heartbreaking to watch because you see the baby's sense of safety and connection just crumble.
I can see how that would be incredibly unsettling.
It is.
Yeah.
And while it's just a brief experiment,
Right.
it powerfully illustrates the importance of mirroring
Yeah.
in a child's development. When a parent consistently fails to reflect back a child's emotions and experiences,
Right.
it can create that emptiness wound
Right.
and a deep-seated belief that their feelings don't matter.
This is all starting to make a lot of sense.
Good.
But if that core wound is driving the behavior,
Yeah,
is it even possible for narcissists to change?
that's a big question.
I mean, if it's rooted in these early childhood experiences,
Yeah,
can they ever truly develop
right.
that missing empathy?
That's a question that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely explore it
Okay.
in more depth later on.
All right.
But for now, let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about the different types of narcissists.
Okay.
It's important to remember that narcissism isn't one size fits all.
Okay. This is where I get really curious.
Okay?
I've heard you mention different types before,
Yeah.
but I'm still a bit fuzzy on the distinctions.
Okay.
What are some of the key variations we should know about?
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork for understanding the roots of narcissism
Right.
and that emptiness wound.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the different types.
Okay.
You mentioned that narcissism isn't one size fits all.
It's true.
Where do we even begin to unpack that?
It can feel overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to categorize a rainbow.
Yeah.
But understanding these different subtypes can be incredibly helpful.
Okay.
It allows you to recognize patterns of behavior, anticipate potential challenges, and ultimately protect yourself more effectively.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about moving beyond
Right.
those vague labels and gaining a more nuanced understanding.
Absolutely.
So where do we start?
Well, one way to think about it
Okay.
is to picture those classic high school archetypes.
Okay.
The jock, the cheerleader, the rebel.
Okay.
Those stereotypes, while oversimplified,
Right.
actually map pretty well onto some of the main narcissistic subtypes.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
All right.
I'm picturing those characters now. Give me the breakdown.
Let's start with the grandiose narcissist.
Okay.
This is your classic attention seeker, the one who loves to be in the spotlight.
Okay.
Think of them as the star quarterback or the head cheerleader,
Got it.
always striving for admiration and external validation.
So these are the folks that are constantly bragging,
Yeah.
name dropping, trying to one up everyone else.
Exactly.
Right.
They're very focused on appearances, status symbols,
Okay.
and projecting an image of success and power.
Okay.
And here's the interesting thing.
Okay. What's that?
They often achieve a high degree of external success.
Really?
Yes.
So their relentless drive for achievement
Yeah.
can actually lead to real-world accomplishments.
It can.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense given their need to prove their worth.
It does.
Right.
But it's important to remember
Right.
that their internal world is often quite different
Okay.
from that polished exterior.
Okay.
Beneath that confident facade lies that same emptiness wound,
Right.
driving their need for constant validation.
Okay, that's the grandiose narcissist.
Right.
Who's next in our high school lineup.
Next up is the vulnerable narcissist.
Okay.
These folks are less about outward grandiosity
Okay.
and more about playing the victim.
Okay.
They're easily slighted, quick to take offense,
Mm-hmm.
and often carry a sense of resentment and bitterness.
So more of the brooding artist.
Yeah.
Or the misunderstood genius type.
Exactly.
The ones who always feel like they're getting the short end of the stick.
Yes, they're masters of evoking sympathy.
Okay.
And playing the woe is me card.
Yeah.
They create a sort of black hole of need
Oh, gosh.
that pulls people in, like
Yeah.
making you feel obligated to rescue them.
But I imagine that can be incredibly draining.
It can.
Yeah.
For those around them.
For sure.
It's like they're constantly demanding emotional energy and validation.
Right.
Without ever truly reciprocating.
Okay. 2 down. Who else do we have in our narcissistic cast of characters?
Next is the one you really need to watch out for.
Okay.
The malignant narcissist.
All right.
This subtype combines the worst traits
Okay.
of the grandiose and vulnerable narcissist
All right.
with an added layer of aggression and a willingness to exploit others.
Whoa, that sounds intense.
It is.
If I had to pick a high school stereotype,
Yeah.
this would be the bully.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
These individuals possess a certain charm and charisma,
Right.
which they use to manipulate and control others.
Okay.
But beneath that surface charm
Yeah.
lies a callous disregard for the feelings of others
Okay.
and a willingness to inflict pain to get what they want.
So it's not just about being self-centered.
No.
It's about actively harming others
Yeah.
to achieve their goals.
Exactly. That's really scary.
It can be.
Yeah.
They're driven by power and control.
Okay.
And they'll often resort to tactics like gaslighting,
Right.
sabotage.
And smear campaigns to maintain that dominance.
Okay.
This is where things move from simply being unpleasant
Yeah.
to downright dangerous.
This is getting pretty heavy.
It is.
Are there any more types to cover?
We do have 2 more.
Okay.
And while they might not be as outwardly destructive
Yeah.
as the malignant narcissist,
Right.
they can still wreak havoc in relationships.
Okay.
First, we have the communal narcissist.
Okay. Communal narcissist.
Yes.
What's their MO?
Think of them as the do-gooder narcissist.
Okay.
They thrive on being seen as generous,
Okay.
selfless, and helpful.
Mm.
You might find them volunteering for every cause,
Okay.
offering to fix everyone's problems,
Right.
and constantly emphasizing their own good deeds.
So they're seeking validation through their acts of service.
Yes.
It sounds almost noble in a way.
On the surface, yes.
Okay.
But here's the catch.
What's that?
Their generosity often comes with strings attached.
Oh.
They crave recognition and praise for their efforts. And if they don't receive enough gratitude,
Right.
they can turn resentful and even vindictive.
Ah. So it's less about genuine altruism
Right.
and more about using good deeds
Yeah.
to feed their ego.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly confusing for those on the receiving end. It's
Yeah.
like, why are they getting so upset
Yeah.
when I didn't gush enough about their help?
It's like their generosity is a form of currency
Yes.
that they expect to be repaid with admiration and praise.
You nailed it.
Okay.
And finally, we have the self-righteous narcissist.
Okay. Self-righteous narcissists.
Yes.
What sets them apart?
These individuals possess a rigid sense of morality
Okay.
and see themselves as inherently superior to others.
Right.
They're quick to judge, criticize,
Right.
and shame those who don't meet their lofty standards.
Got it.
They lack empathy and have a strong sense of entitlement,
Right.
believing they're always in the right.
So they're the ones who are always lecturing everyone about their flaws and failings.
Precisely.
Okay.
And they often use their perceived righteousness as a weapon
Right.
to control and manipulate others.
Wow.
It's a way to maintain a position of moral superiority
Okay.
and avoid confronting their own shortcomings.
Wow. This breakdown of the different types has been incredibly helpful.
Good.
I'm already starting to see how these patterns might play out in my own life.
Right.
It's like you've given me a new lens
It is a new lens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for understanding some of the more challenging relationships I've encountered.
That's the power of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
It allows us to see things more clearly
Right.
and make more informed choices. And
Right.
speaking of choices,
Yes.
I know a lot of our listeners are probably wondering, how do you actually deal with a narcissist?
Yeah.
Especially if you can't just walk away.
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
I'm ready to dive into some practical strategies.
Okay. But first, it's important to understand
Wait.
why we as human beings
Mhm.
are so susceptible to getting caught in a narcissist's web
Oh,
in the first place.
yeah. Why are we so vulnerable in these relationships?
Right.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've explored the roots of narcissism,
Mm-hmm.
the different types.
Right.
We've even touched on like why we're so drawn to them.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of listeners are like on the edge of their seats,
Yeah.
wanting to know
I bet.
what can you actually do about it,
Right.
especially if this is someone that you can't just cut out of your life.
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
It's true. These aren't just theoretical concepts.
Right.
They play out in real-life relationships.
Yeah.
And navigating them can be incredibly challenging.
So let's get practical.
Okay.
What are some strategies that people can use to protect themselves when dealing with a narcissist?
Well, the first thing to understand is this.
Okay.
You can't change a narcissist. As much as we might want to believe
Yeah.
that with enough love and patience or maybe some tough conversations,
Right.
we can help them see the light.
Yeah.
The reality is that lasting change in a narcissist is incredibly rare.
But isn't personal growth possible for everyone?
Well,
I mean, people go to therapy.
yeah.
They have breakthroughs. They evolve.
Yeah.
Why is narcissism
Well,
different?
remember that rigid personality structure
Okay.
and deep-seated belief system we talked about?
Yeah.
That sense of superiority and the inability to truly empathize,
Right.
those things make real self-reflection
Okay.
and lasting change incredibly difficult.
So it's not just about
Yeah.
having a few good days or making promises.
Yeah.
It's about like fundamental shifts
Right.
in their worldview,
Yeah.
their ability to connect with others on a deeper level,
Yes.
to truly take responsibility for their actions.
Absolutely.
So you're saying even if a narcissist acknowledges their behavior, true transformation is unlikely.
It's sadly uncommon. And holding on to that hope can actually keep you stuck
Right.
in a cycle of pain and disappointment.
Okay, so if changing them is off the table,
Right.
where does that leave us?
Yeah.
What can we do to protect ourselves?
This is where the focus shifts
Yeah.
to your healing and empowerment.
Yeah.
And one of the most effective tools in your arsenal is setting boundaries.
I've heard that term thrown around a lot.
It is.
But what does it actually look like
Yeah.
in the context of a relationship with a narcissist?
Think of boundaries as your emotional guardrails.
Okay.
They're the lines you draw in the sand to define what you will and will not tolerate.
Okay.
And with narcissists, those boundaries need to be clear, firm, and consistently enforced.
Makes sense, but I imagine that's
Yeah.
easier said than done,
It is.
right? Especially with someone who's so skilled
Yeah,
at pushing buttons and manipulating.
absolutely. It's not easy.
Okay.
But Dr. Ramani offers some great advice
Okay.
that she calls the 5 Ds when interacting with a narcissist.
Right, what are those?
Don't go deep, don't defend, don't engage, don't explain,
Okay.
and don't personalize.
So it's about not feeding into their need
Yes,
for drama and control.
exactly. Narcissists thrive on attention,
Okay.
even if it's negative attention.
Right.
They want to get a rise out of you to
Yeah.
keep you emotionally hooked.
Okay.
The less you react, the less power they have over you.
I've heard about the gray rock technique. Is that part of this strategy?
Gray rocking is a great example of this.
Okay.
It's about becoming emotionally non-reactive, like a gray rock.
Right.
You limit your interactions to superficial topics
Okay.
and avoid engaging on an emotional level.
So basically keep it boring and factual.
Right.
No deep conversations.
Yeah.
No attempts to like reason with them.
Exactly.
Okay.
It might feel unnatural at first,
Yeah.
but it's a powerful way to protect your energy and sanity.
Okay.
It's like creating an emotional shield that deflects their attempts.
Brutally to manipulate and control you.
Okay. Setting boundaries and gray rocking.
Mm-hmm.
What else can we add to our narcissist defense toolkit?
Building a strong support system
Yeah.
is absolutely essential.
Right.
Narcissists often try to isolate you
Okay.
from your friends and family,
Right.
making you dependent on them for validation and connection.
It's that whole divide and conquer strategy, right?
Okay.
Make you doubt your own reality
Yeah,
and question everyone else's motives.
that's right. That's why having a network of trusted friends, family members, or even a therapist
Yeah.
can be so crucial.
Okay.
These are the people who can offer you a reality check,
Right.
validate your experiences, and remind you of your own worth.
So it's like having an emotional safety net to catch you.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
That's exactly what a strong support system can provide.
Right.
It helps you stay grounded and avoid falling into that trap
Okay.
of self-blame and isolation. This is all incredibly helpful for those who are trying to manage a relationship with a narcissist.
Right.
But what about those who are considering cutting ties completely?
That's a really important question.
Yeah.
The decision to leave a narcissistic relationship
Okay.
is incredibly complex. And there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
It depends on your unique circumstances.
Okay.
Whether there are children involved, financial entanglements,
Mm-hmm.
shared social circles.
Right.
And it's important to be prepared for the potential fallout.
Because narcissists don't exactly handle rejection well, right?
No, they don't.
What are some of the challenges people might face when trying to leave?
Narcissists often react to breakups with anger,
Oh,
blame,
yeah.
and attempts to regain control.
Right.
You might experience what's called post-separation abuse,
Okay.
where they try to sabotage your reputation, spread rumors,
Oh, wow.
or even escalate their controlling
This
behaviors.
sounds terrifying.
It can be.
What can people do to protect themselves during that process?
Preparation is key.
Okay.
First and foremost, document everything.
Okay.
Save text messages, emails,
Right.
any evidence of their controlling or abusive behavior. Narcissists are masters of rewriting history
Yeah.
and playing the victim.
So it's about creating a paper trail
Yes.
to protect yourself both legally and emotionally.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's also crucial to have a solid support system in place.
Right.
People you can trust to offer emotional support and practical help.
Okay.
If possible, seek legal advice
Right.
to understand your rights and options,
Yeah.
especially if there are financial or custody issues involved.
This is all so important.
It is.
Leaving a narcissist is not just about ending the relationship.
It's not.
It's about navigating
Yeah.
a potential minefield of emotional and logistical challenges.
It is.
Okay.
And it's essential to prioritize your own safety and well-being throughout the process.
Okay. Let's say someone has managed to extricate themselves
Okay.
from a narcissistic relationship. What does the healing process look like?
Yeah, it's a journey.
Okay.
And it's not always linear.
Okay.
There will be ups and downs, setbacks and breakthroughs.
Right.
But it's important to remember that healing is absolutely possible.
Okay.
It starts with acknowledging the trauma you've endured,
Mhm.
allowing yourself to grieve the relationship you thought you had,
Right.
and then shifting the focus to rebuilding your life.
So it's about moving from victim to survivor,
Exactly.
reclaiming your agency,
Yeah.
and focusing on your own growth and well-being.
Yes. And therapy can be incredibly helpful during this process.
Right.
It provides a safe space to process your emotions, unpack the dynamics of the relationship,
Yeah.
and develop healthy coping mechanisms.
I'm hearing a lot of emphasis on self-care and rebuilding self-esteem.
Right.
What are some practical things people can do to nurture themselves during this time?
Reconnecting with your passions and interests
Okay.
is a great place to start.
Mhm.
What brings you joy?
Right.
What activities make you feel energized and alive?
Yeah.
Make time for those things.
Okay.
It's also important to focus on building healthy relationships with people who value and respect you.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with positivity and support.
So it's about replacing the negativity and depletion
Yes.
of the narcissistic relationship
Yeah.
with experiences that nourish your soul.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
It's about rediscovering who you are outside of the narcissist's shadow, reclaiming your voice,
Right.
and creating a life that's authentically yours.
I love that.
Good.
But I imagine there's still a lot of anger and resentment to process.
Yeah.
How you even begin to let go of those feelings.
That's where the concept of forgiveness comes in.
You know-
And I know this is a loaded term,
Yeah.
especially in the context of narcissistic abuse, right? There's a lot of pressure to forgive, right?
There is.
Like it's the right thing to do,
Yeah.
even if you've been deeply wronged.
And that pressure can be incredibly damaging.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that forgiveness is a personal choice.
Okay.
And it's not a prerequisite for healing.
Right.
It's also not about condoning the narcissist's behavior
Right.
or letting them off the hook.
So if it's not about them,
Yeah.
what is forgiveness really about?
It's about releasing the anger and resentment that you're holding on to. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of the past
Yeah.
so you can move forward with a lighter heart.
Okay.
And remember, forgiveness is not a one-time event.
Right.
It's a process that can unfold over time.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about finding a way to make peace with what happened without minimizing the pain
Yes,
or excusing the behavior.
exactly. And sometimes the healthiest path is to let go without forgiving.
Okay.
It's about accepting that what happened, happened.
And focusing on creating a future where you're safe and thriving.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like we've covered so much ground
Yeah.
and offered so much practical advice.
Good. I hope so.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to leave our listeners with?
If there's one message I want to emphasize, it's this.
Okay.
You are not alone.
Mm-hmm.
There is support available.
Yeah.
And healing is possible.
Okay.
And even if you can't completely escape a narcissist's influence,
Right.
you can still create a life filled with genuine connection, joy, and meaning.
That's such an important message.
It is.
It's about reclaiming your power and focusing on what you can control,
Yeah.
your own choices,
Yeah.
your own healing, your own future.
Exactly. And remember that quote from Dr. Ramani?
Okay.
Once you get the weights off the bat, you're hitting grand slam after grand slam.
Oh, I love that one.
You have the strength and resilience within you to move forward
Right.
and create a life that's truly fulfilling.
This has been such an incredible deep dive.
Good. I'm glad.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you a deeper understanding of narcissism and empowered you to navigate these complex relationships with greater awareness and self-compassion.
Absolutely.
Remember, knowledge is power.
It is.
And you have the strength within you to